Okay, I paraphrased this question up on the screen, but it goes like this. Regarding the Jezebel Spirit teaching that is going around as a person gets older in years, how do they deal with regrets in family or marital relationships that never seem to get better, and after all the years, they still remain not close or connected? It's like even 30, 40 years, let's say, the persons involved are still strangers to one another. And one of the parties seems to be okay with that status quo. And then they said, I would just like to have guy's perspective on this. So I'm assuming it's a lady. Pastor Steve, what would you say to this question?
Well, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Most of Christianity is pretty straightforward. And so, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. There are a number of issues as far as just the attitude that we need to have. One of the things I'm studying for Esther. I'm doing a study through Esther for Sunday, and I don't want to give away my study, but Esther is attractive, and she has real issues with a guy who is a rival to her, and he's actually somebody who has evil intent towards her, and she doesn't rip him down. What she does is she makes herself more attractive, basically. And so I think that a lot of times what happens with people is when they're dissatisfied, and in this instance, just talking about jealousies and that kind of stuff, when they're dissatisfied with a relationship, say because of jealousy, what they do is they try to make the person that they want to be close to not like whatever they think is their rival. That's what they try to do. Mm-hmm. And it makes them look ugly. Instead, what needs to happen is they need to be attractive, and in fact more attractive than whatever the thing is. And so, in a situation like what's being described here, I'd have to have more information. The Jezebel Spirit thing. There's no such thing as a Jezebel Spirit. That's you have all these goofy religious things that people make up. Yeah. There is no passage that talks about the Jezebel spirit or the spirit of adultery or the spirit of this or that. There are no passages that deal with that. There are passages that deal with sin and the fact that we need to not walk in our flesh. And so I just don't get into all that. It's just nothing but superstition. When you're talking about broken relationships that never seem to get better, many times there just needs to be some wisdom there, and again, I'm kind of giving away what I'm gonna talk about on Sunday, and I really don't want to, but because so it's only you guys who are listening to this right now, and you two in the room, but I got lots of opportunities throughout the years to put other people above my wife. And specifically what I'm talking about is guys at work asking me to bars, asking me to hang out with them, and that kind of thing. And it's not that I didn't like the people that I worked with. I wasn't going to go to a bar with them, and I had to talk with them about that. But basically what I would do at the end of the day when they, a guy would say to me, "Hey, Steve, we're going to go over to a bar and we're going to get something to drink. You want to come with us?" And I go, "No." And, there's the whole drinking issue, and that was one of the things that we dealt with. I'm not going to get into all that. But one of the things that I always said to him is, you guys are ugly and my wife is cute. And so I want to go be with her. I've been with you for 8 hours. I want to see your face anymore. And I was joking around, but it was true.
Yeah.
That was the issue. That was the thing. And part of the reason that that was the issue is because my wife was fun to come home to. And she made my she made my home something that was pleasant to be in, and so she was always more attractive than any guy that I ever ran into. And then then there's the issue of other women and that kind of stuff, and obviously I'm a Christian, and so I'm not going to go there and stuff. But my wife is more attractive to me than other things that can get my attention. I have hobbies that I'd like to be doing. There's a number of them, and frankly, I don't do them because I like coming home and sitting with my wife. And it's not because I'm lazy. I'm just there's things that I got to get done, and I'll go out in my shop and do those things, but I don't choose those things first. It's like I'd rather be with my wife, and again, it's because she's attractive. And so when I look at a situation like this, what I'm afraid is happening here is you've got a guy there that's not attractive, or a friend or a family member or whatever. They're not attracted to the relationship. And so if I was in a situation like what's being described here, I'd try to find out why this person likes whatever they're doing more than they like me. And I'd pray about that, and there can be some character issues there, and that kind of thing. But a guy who is being treated in the way that the Bible talks about a wife treating him is always going to the wife. And and I'm not saying that as a condemnatory thing, but a lot of ladies have. They have a list of things that they do for their husbands, and that should be good enough. And they're not actually fulfilling what Scripture says.
Right.
And so, it's those are things that I would be looking at. Yeah. So I'm gonna. This is important what you're saying, and I know because I do this in counseling all the time, as do you. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, people will come in, and of course, they want to know, how do I fix my spouse? Mm-hmm. And what you're saying, application, they're so far down the road, or the relationship has degraded so much that they don't have hope. Mm-hmm. They will maybe try to implement what you're saying for a week or two, but then when the person, doesn't respond or it doesn't go their way, it's like, well, this is never going to work, and they're just deflated. So how do you get someone to really believe what the Word says and implement it as a lifestyle without giving up hope? I don't get, as far as believing what the Word says, what that entails is the idea that if I do these things, then I will get the results that I want. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them to do that. Most often, that's exactly what's going to happen. But we don't do the things that God calls us to because we're going to get the results that we want. We do them because God calls us to them. Right. And so whether I get the results or not, this is the way that I'm supposed to be living. I'm supposed to be doing this. Again, when you're even the attitude, the result oriented attitude is something that's unattractive. Because I don't know about you, but I pretty much know when I'm being manipulated. Yeah. And so somebody starts being nice to me all of a sudden who's never nice to me before. And I'm like, what do you want? Yeah. And if this has been going on for 30 or 40 years, where it's like, and I don't want to paint this as, the person's just awful, but again, if you got a relationship, if it's a family relationship or a marital relationship especially, and it never gets better, there's something unattractive about the relationship, and there's something that is more attractive to the person about whatever he's replacing the relationship with. And so if a guy, and everybody needs alone time, I get that, but if a guy is constantly choosing alone time, there's something wrong there. There's something wrong there. And I would, again, what you do is you look to yourself and you try to fix the thing that's wrong, that God shows you is wrong. And this is where we live. And it doesn't matter if he responds. This is where we live. And if the guy knows this is where I live, no matter whether he responds or not, then he knows this is not manipulation and I just genuinely care for him. Mm-hmm. And that's attractive. If it's, I'm going to do these things so that you will pick me over your wood shop, that's not attractive. That's just, you're trying to get me to do something that you want. Again, that's what you're doing. And so all you're doing is manipulating me. The most attractive people that you will ever run into are people who never want anything from you. And you can just go through the list of people in your mind that you really like, and I can guarantee you that none of them will be people who constantly want something from you. They're always going to be people who are more willing to give than to receive. And again, that's what I'm obviously quoting Jesus there. Yeah. And that's again attractive, but it needs to be a for real thing. And so I don't know how to explain that any better than that. The reason is Jesus. The reason that Jesus is attractive to me is because he's already done all the work, and he doesn't want anything from me but me. And so he's there. It's like whether I respond or not, he's already died for me. Whether I respond or not, he already loves me. Whether I respond or not, he's already doing good things for me. I can breathe. I live in a nice place. All the stuff that my grandma said are blessings that need to be counted. He's already done these things for me, and when I realize how good God's been to me, despite the fact that I have not been good to him, what it does is it causes me to love him, to be attracted to him. Why would you do this? And so the first time that I ever heard anybody talking to me about God's love and showing it to me in the Bible, my reaction was not, well, good, because he should. My reaction was why would he love me? And start thinking about who I am in comparison to who he is, and that kind of stuff. And it was nothing but, I saw that, there's actually love that didn't have strings attached, and it was just there. And so I think that a lot of times when people are in this kind of situation, they get jealous over whatever the issue is, and they start railing against the person. Mm-hmm. You should be doing this for me,
right?
Doing that kind of stuff, or railing against the thing that they think is their rival, and that just doesn't work with people.
Yeah.
What it does is it makes it more attractive, and it makes you less attractive. And so Jesus, you don't see Jesus going into this radical harangue on the devil. You don't see him going into this radical harangue on the world and stuff. Most and it's not that he wouldn't talk about those things, but he always talked about them in the context of, this is something that will hurt you. This is something, and the idea there is, this is bad, and this is what I really have for you. This is where you need to be, and again, people are going to hear that and think that's what I've been doing.
Right. When
in actuality, what they've been doing is ripping on whatever it is that that person finds more attractive than them, and extolling all the great works that they've done for them, and there's a flavor there.
Yeah.
That
it's hard because of self-deception is they don't even realize they're doing it, especially if you're talking 30 years.
Yeah.
It's just part of your flesh coming out. You don't even see it anymore.
Right, exactly. And so you got 30, 40 years of this, and you got a long-standing interaction there where most likely, a lot of times what guys will do, and this, you wanted a man's perspective, and here you're going to get it. What guys will do is they'll get frustrated with their wives or with their family members, and so they'll get mad and they'll yell about it, and and if that doesn't work, then they'll just get quiet and they'll withdraw. And when it starts getting like that gets scary. That gets that because you built up a wall there, and you don't want to keep building on it. It's like digging a hole and you keep, you're in a hole and you keep digging. Yeah. Stop digging, try something new.
So one of the things in our culture too is we have this victim culture, and I know, or I'm assuming, people just listening to what you're saying are going to be offended because they're going at it as like, no, you don't understand. I'm the victim.
Right.
He's mean to me or she's mean to me. I'm the one that is getting kicked in the teeth, and you want me to just be a doormat and do whatever they say. And
let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Jesus was a doormat.
Right.
It's like you read 1 Peter chapter 2. The guy was a doormat.
Yeah.
And the reason that he did it is because he loves us, and that's the whole point of him dying for us. And so are you willing to be a doormat for the Lord?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about you never stand up for anything good or
Sure.
anything righteous and that kind of thing. But most often this isn't about goodness and righteousness. This is about my desires versus your desires, and I want what I want. And that's not righteousness. That's selfishness. And so again, when I'm talking to people that are in this kind of situation, do you want to have friends? Do you want to have a husband? Do you want to have a wife? Then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to be somebody that they want to be around.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that their actions or reactions are all good and godly.
I was just going to say that because that's not the case, because if they were taking your advice, then the other person would be doing what you're saying on the other side. And then you have the mutual pouring in, dying to yourself in the Lord,
Yep.
which is going to produce exactly what you want, but you can't expect the other person to do it if you're not doing it yourself.
Right, exactly. And it's not going to work. And again, guys don't want to be manipulated. And so there's stuff in there that's got to get taken care of. And if it's been 30 or 40 years, you've been doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah. The verse, 1 Corinthians, that says if you're married to an unbeliever, that even if he doesn't know the Lord, I'm paraphrasing, that you'll win him over without a word by living Jesus in front of him. The spiritual flavor is what you just said,
Right.
is doing Esther. Okay, yeah, let's say the guy's a dirtbag. Yeah, he's doing all these things. How do you reach him? What are you supposed to become that changes the relationship from this feuding, fighting, turned off, quiet, to actually something that the Spirit pours in and grows? And then, when that happens, a lot of times the other person looks at that and goes, I want to be like that.
Right.
And that's how they get saved.
Yeah. So what you want with your family members and your obviously your spouse is you need to not be the enemy. And people just make themselves an enemy. And so you need to not be the enemy. And you need to not be ugly. And I'm not talking about outwardly, I'm talking about inwardly. You need to not be ugly. And again, there's a draw there. And so it's just being Christ-like
Yeah.
in a situation. And so
I think too, not to make this the whole show, but when you first start dating someone, there's this natural thing where all that's happening because you realize that you're going to have to die to yourself in order for this person to be winsome. But over time, your flesh comes out, and because you're not walking in the Spirit, or really it's an indictment on your spiritual life, because on the inside, that person shouldn't be able to get to you. They shouldn't be able to change you, even if they're awful, if you're tight with God. But over the years, that slow grind puts in the place where they know how to push your buttons, and then they push them, and then your flesh comes out.
Right.
So really, it comes down to your personal walk with God to be able to really love anybody, especially the person, if you wake up to them every day, which is the hardest.
Yep.
All
Hopefully
right.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I like that.
So again, when you're thinking about this, never went to the bars with the guys because my wife was more attractive. Always. So
All right.
I don't go anywhere with you.
And I'm like a super nice guy, super winsome, good looking, charming. So